got a secret for you. Public speaking is not your number one fear. What? How can that be? Every list I've read says that public speaking is the number one fear. Yeah, well, those lists are wrong. Here's why. There are two underlying fears that give public speaking the potential to create a lot of anxiety and stress. What are these two fears? The magic secret. The number one fear is fear of public humiliation and embarrassment. Our earliest ancestors, in order to survive, had to stay in packs. The person who got ostracized or kicked out of the group was in grave danger. Why? They probably didn't have a food source, and there were a lot of saber-toothed tigers with empty stomachs that were waiting to eat them. So being part of the group was critical. If you were embarrassed, if you were humiliated, you could be kicked out of that group. So that's why it's wired in us to not want to be embarrassed. At a deep level, we feel like we're going to get kicked out of the group. That's the number one fear. Fear number two, fear of walking into a room full of strangers. To go back to our ancient ancestors, when small groups of our ancestors ran into other packs, other tribes, it was a dangerous moment. They never knew if this other tribe was there to steal their food, their people, their fully furnished caves, or whatever they lived in. They had to be extremely careful when meeting other small groups of people, tribes, clans, whatever they were called. So when you combine these two fears, and by the way, they're in us. They have evolved over the centuries and the millennia to be part of who we are. This is why we get nervous and anxious when we stand up to speak. Speaking is the potential to be embarrassed or humiliated in front of a group of strangers. And you're not going to get rid of this fear, by the way. What you can learn to do is manage it. One of the easiest ways to do this is before you stand in front of a group and speak, or even a camera, remind yourself, number one, the group in front of you is well fed. They've probably eaten within the last few hours. They are not going to attack and eat you. And there's a pretty good chance they're not there to steal your possessions. I know this sounds silly, but it works. Just remind yourself that's not why they're there. They're there to get information, new insight, a new perspective, and their time is valuable. They don't want you to fail. They don't want to attack you. They're too busy to eat you, right? They've got other things to do. They're well fed. So remember that. They're there for your perspective. Those ancient fears no longer apply. Secondly, yes, they're strangers most of the time when you're speaking to a new group. Yeah, they're strangers. But again, keep in mind, they're extremely busy today. There are, and I'm not exaggerating, 100 or more activities they could be doing other than sitting in front of you and listening to your presentation. They want that success. They're there for value, not to take anything away from you. So there you have it. Your number one fear is not public speaking. It's the potential to be embarrassed, humiliated, and ostracized. To go back to an old feeling that's buried deep within us in front of a room full of strangers. Again, maybe long ago they were there to try to take your items, but no more. Hopefully this helps. Keep it in mind. Remind yourself before you speak. They're not there to take anything. They want value, and they're well fed. Look forward to seeing you in our next video.